Hi, my name is Brenda Cornell, and I'm an LVN. Today, I'm going to do episode 2 of Kickstart Your Healthcare Career Through Caregiving. A little bit about myself. I've been an LVN for about 5 years, currently working in administrative um, position. So right now I'm working for LaSalle Medical Associates as an LVN. And a little bit about what I do is I'm a utilization management um, coordinator, lead LVN. So what I do is I work closely with doctors as well as other healthcare professionals, such as nurses, coordinators. We have CNAs. We have RNs who are actually in the utilization management for financing as well. And a little bit of what we do. So we make sure that, of course, we are managing our members' care with what they are actually covered with through their health plan. So, of course, we want to make sure that they're getting the highest level of care provided um, with Medi-Cal and Medicare and what type of coverage is covered in certain aspects. Um, I know it's totally different from caregiving. I actually used to be a caregiver for Home Instead Senior Care Pasadena, which I loved. It was actually patient care, so one on one. And what I'm doing now is a little bit different. It's pushing paper, but I can definitely say, even pushing paper, I treat this piece of paper just as I'm in front of a client because at the end of the day, pushing even a piece of paper, we have a patient or a client on the other side of that screen waiting for care. So they're putting their trust in us to make sure that we're managing the best level of care for them. Um, as I said before, I was at home instead for about 4 years or so. Best experience ever. It actually helped me gain a lot of bedside manners, how to approach different aspects of caregiving, from just running errands for clients, doing actual incontinence care, the full on care for a client. Um, what I can say now is I've gained so much experience from personally helping family members, such as my dad, who was on hospice for a while. I was able to give him insulin injections. He actually said that I was the best nurse that he ever had. I wasn't technically a nurse yet, but I think it was just the kind, gentle care that I was able to provide. So sometimes I do believe a lot of the caring aspect of being a caregiver comes from family experience. And I can personally say for myself, I became a nurse because I was so interested in what entails of being a nurse. So, what do these people think when they leave a client? Sometimes you experience nurses that aren't very nice. And me personally, I wanted to be that nurse that made a difference no matter where I went. So that's just a little bit about myself. I'm going to go ahead and go over some questions that I have received. The first question is, what was your path to caregiving? So my path to caregiving started, like I said previously, with helping family members, and then gratefully I was able to get a part-time job and then going into full-time with Home Instead Senior Care Pasadena, which I am so grateful for all of the kind experience, the kind people there, kind words and encouragement. And I use that to really, really utilize, bedside manners, because in nursing school, a lot of times there's so many students that you never get a chance to actually experience that one-on-one care with a client, get to talk to any other staff, as well as have a supportive group of individuals such as office staff and office professionals that are willing to actually give you the training and help you through. So I would always recommend starting, caregiving as a stepping stone, because you definitely want to make sure that the healthcare field is for you. I will definitely say healthcare is not for everyone. You definitely have to be really, really passionate about what you do, because the thing is, yes, a lot of these clients, they need our assistance, they need our care. A lot of them may have memory loss, but the thing that they never lose is feeling, and they feel off of your energy. So if you go into work with an attitude, or you're just doing it because it's just a job, healthcare is not for you. You're doing this job because you are there to make a difference in someone else's life that needs you at this time. Going to the second question, it says, what about caregiving did you enjoy the most? And what was your least favorite part? I can definitely say that caregiving in general, there was so many things I loved about caregiving. One of them would be the instant gratification that I got from just knowing I made a difference in that person's life. Just hearing the family thanking me so much for just the littlest things. Things that I may have not enjoyed so much was maybe particularly sometimes I would get to a shift and the person just didn't want me there, which is perfectly fine. Sometimes you just have to be really, really open to maybe it's just not the right time. Just let the client know that you're there. Step back and let them know that I'm here and I'm willing to help you on your time. So you don't want to force anything on any clients. You don't want to force the care, but you want to give them time and be open to working around their time and when they're ready. Another thing that I can say maybe wasn't so enjoyable was basically going into a client's house where they particularly said that your personality didn't just work for them, or maybe it's your ethnic background, which is perfectly fine. As human beings, we all have a choice of who we want to care for us and who we don't. Just take it openly. I would report it back to home instead, letting them know the client just didn't want me there, particularly for my ethnic background, and it was perfectly fine. It was just a learning experience for me. Going on to the next question, it says, can you share two examples of the skills or knowledge that you acquired as a caregiver? um, Going back to bedside manners. So just one of the biggest things is just always, respecting the fact that those clients have choices. You ask them, do you want to go out today? They say no. Okay, well, give them another option. Always be flexible, but always give them choices. I personally always gave them more than one choice so that they could pick from something and not feel that they're kind of limited to what I wanted them to do at that time. Um, Bedside manners, too, would just be respecting the fact, when you're doing incontinence care, when you're helping them to the restroom, you still give them their privacy and dignity. You always want to make sure that you're respecting them. Just think of how you would want your family member or yourself to be treated at this time when you're needing assistance. And another thing that I feel like I acquired as a caregiver, knowledge wise, is that you're the professional. So you go in and you're just as confident as ever. The family is looking up to you to care for that member. So be confident in what you're doing, and know that you're doing the right thing. And if you do have questions, just always reach out to your office at home instead, and they're always willing to answer any questions. But always think about it, as don't ever think in your mind, is this the right thing? Because normally, if you're thinking that, 9 out of 10 times it may not be the best choice. So you definitely want to make sure that you're confident in what you're doing and let the family know that you're a professional at what you're doing. Going on to the next question is, if you had to use one word to describe your journey to your current position, what would it be and why? Well, technically, I can't actually explain it in one word, but I would basically say life changing. So, my journey has been amazing. I have no complaints at all. I do say that whether you start from caregiving or you go directly into an actual program like medical assistant, LVN program, or RN, just know that you have made the right choice by just actually making that choice to go into the healthcare field. There's so many individuals out here in the world today that need help. You think about the baby boomers, our biggest population of aging individuals. They all need care at some point. And sometimes, not saying that the family members are not always able to provide care. Sometimes you just have those individuals that they don't have the skills to provide care. So they look up to caregivers like yourself, or future caregivers to provide the care and knowledge that they need. Or sometimes it just personally hurts them deep inside to see a loved one in that particular situation. So that's when caregivers come in to go ahead and assist during that time. Going on to the next question is, what advice do you have for current caregivers interested in kickstarting their healthcare career? I would say go for it. Absolutely go for it. I have I can tell you enough how it has been just so rewardful for me. Um, I would say don't double think it. If I could have become a caregiver LVN sooner, I definitely would have. Sometimes you kind of dawn on things, is this the right feel for me? Is it not? Sometimes you can start off very, very little. So you can start off very simple by saying, I'm applying for a caregiver position. I'm not sure if this is a position for me. I do help my grandmother or my aunt and uncle with errands, light housekeeping, and things like that. So you might want to start small with just getting your feet wet to see if it's actually for you. And then, of course, if it's for you, then continue your journey on because you will definitely get tons and tons of gratitude and rewards from just knowing that you're able to help others. So I would definitely say go for it if that's what you're thinking. And just kind of talk to other people, look at different resources to make sure that this is the correct choice that you're making for your future. Going on to the next question here on my list that I have gotten is as a woman in the healthcare field, was it hard to establish your position and move up in the field? Again, I'm personally speaking for myself. It has never been hard for me to move up in the field personally, only because I consider myself as a go getter. So anytime there's a position open, I apply for it. I may not get it the first time, but I'm definitely going to try the second time. I would always recommend that if particularly you're going for something, look at different resources of how to obtain that goal, how to get there. Talk to the managers, the HR managers that are hiring. Ask questions. Um, really learn what the job entails in detail and gain that knowledge, experience, and then go from there. I personally, as I said before, have really appreciated the fact that I've gained so much knowledge from Home Instead, starting off as a caregiver, within a year being promoted into the office as a client care coordinator, eventually ending as a client care coordinator, but promoted in um, as a recruiter. So I was able to recruit and hire individuals and kind of put myself in their shoes at the time when I was coming in as a caregiver. And then slowly transitioning into a trainer. So as a trainer, I was able to apply knowledge that I personally gained throughout nursing school and give them those tips and things like that that they can use to just leverage their experience from a caregiver into the medical field if they are pursuing to go into the medical field a little bit deeper. So I would definitely say that in my position currently, it hasn't been hard, but you always have to put in the work for it. As we all know, I'm pretty sure our parents have told us before, nothing is given to you. Anything worth having is worth working for. So you always have to put in the work. If that consists of, overtime, just reading about what you want to do, put in the extra work. A lot of times I found myself at home personally choosing to, read up on things and how I could work in different fields within using my LVN license. There's tons of fields that you can actually utilize a license, a caregiving background. You don't have to just stick with caregiving. You can actually use that as a stepping stone, and there's millions of things that you can do, whether it's in administration. You want to still be a caregiver. Maybe you want to be a traveling nurse. The sky is the limit, and you have to go for what you want. Going on to the next question that I have got is how was being a caregiver at home instead Pasadena? So as I said before, being a caregiver at home instead Senior Care Pasadena was probably the best choice I had ever made. I worked for previous home cares, but I would say that Pasadena has the most support from the office staff to just other caregivers working alongside of you. They're always there to support you. So there's never a time where you can't call in and say simply, I'm having a hard time working with this client. Do you recommend me to do this or do that? Most likely, they're going to send out someone to the client's home to go ahead and assist you hands on. Because we have to realize too, sometimes a lot of us, we're visual learners, some of us are hands on. So we kind of have to look at that in a 360 and be able to help each individual depending on the way that they learn. So I can definitely say Home Instead Senior Care Pasadena has definitely helped me gain my confidence in teaching, being able to see both sides. With caregiving, it's not always black and white. Sometimes you have those gray areas. And in those gray areas, you just have to be flexible and see what is the best option for your client and always keeping them safe while going ahead and utilizing those options that you do have. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next question. The next question says, is there any racial disparities that you face while building your career in the healthcare field? No, no big disparities that I would say. The only thing is sometimes you may have a client that, for their own personal reasons, they may choose not to personally have you in the home, which is perfectly fine. And you just take that professionally and report it back to the office. In my case, I had one client before that just didn't want me there due to my ethnic background. I reported it. They were able to find a replacement, and that was fine. It was just a learning experience that, of course, we do have individuals that still kind of pick and choose who they want, which all of us, as human beings, we have the choice to pick and choose who we want to utilize or manage our care. Going on to the next question, it says, as a woman, I find it hard to secure or establish my authoritative position with males in the healthcare field. How have you overcome that? So currently at my current job at LaSalle Medical Associates, I am the lead nurse and I am female. I do have I do have three other males who are underneath me who are much older than myself. And I definitely cannot complain about having any issues with authority. So they actually look up to me. A lot of them call me on a daily basis, asking me, Brenda, is this the right thing? Do you think that this should go to the medical director? Do you think the client can benefit from this service? So I think sometimes just, you being yourself and expressing to others, especially males, that, we're all here to work together. No one's better than the other. We can all work together, and you're just as open as they are to new ideas. I always look at two sides. So I take in what they, a male or a coworker will tell me, and then sometimes we have to bring it to the table as a conclusion and say what is the best option, and we can weigh out our options, but always make sure that you're utilizing others' opinions, because others' opinions, they definitely matter. And I think in that position, you wouldn't have any problem with authority, because they learn to respect you because you're respecting them as well. Going on to the next question is, someone asked, it says, I am a caregiver myself, and I find it that most elderly men take offense to a female helping them. Have you experienced anything like that? Well, it's kind of funny. This person asked this question because I have before. So, working as a caregiver, a lot of males, and I think it's sometimes due to respect. So it wasn't really from the male that I was experienced this issue with. It was from the wife. So of course, sometimes you have the elderly couple where the wife feels that the younger caregiver or the caregiver in general may be stepping on their toes because you're going into the home, you're helping their spouse, and you're kind of doing the duties that they once were able to do. So in that case, I always say, you just let them know that, happily you're there to help them. If they do need anything, you're here. Um, Going back to what I said before, you're not going to force them to welcome you and be willing to take you on as a female caregiver. If it does become an issue where they're saying, like, just out of personal respect, I prefer a male caregiver. In that sense, of course, they're, no matter how welcoming you are, how helpful you are, they may just not accept you as a female caregiver. And in that sense, you may have to reach out to the home instead office or your office to just simply let them know that, this person prefers a male caregiver. They feel more comfortable out of respect. Maybe they're not comfortable with a female helping them with incontinence care, going to the restroom, and things like that. So you just have to respect the fact that if they're not open to having you after you've tried your best, then I would go ahead and see what your boss can do to make that situation better for not only you but for the client as well, because we want to respect their wishes. But I would definitely say try that all that you can do first to help that individual, and if you've exhausted all choices, then I would go ahead and reach out. Going on to the next question is, as a female in the healthcare field, how do you find time for some well needed self care? This field is fast paced and constantly stressful. It's hard for me to sit down and enjoy some me time. I would definitely say I think we all experience that, not only in the healthcare field, but just working full time in general. And the most important thing is you have to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, no one else will take care of you. Just think about if you're not taking care of yourself and you become sick or ill, who's going to go ahead and be able to provide care for your client? Or your loved one. So you definitely have to take a mental break, um, and get out, get some fresh air. Maybe even find an activity that can engage, your attention and help relax you. I would always say for myself personally, I take like maybe one day every 2 weeks to do something I enjoy, whether that's going to the park, taking my goddaughter somewhere who gives me absolute joy. Um, it could be simply going to the nail shop, getting a massage, but you definitely have to make time. And I say sometimes what helps is just setting a schedule. So, getting a calendar, simply marking the calendar, maybe it's every other Friday of the month or every second Friday of the month, where you dedicate that time to personally take care of yourself. So, you want to make sure that you're not overloading yourself, because there is something called caregiver burnout, where there is family caregivers and caregivers working tons and tons of hours, and they're particularly burning themselves out, and they become ill, and they're not able to care for a family member, children, as well as no one is there to care for their clients. So you definitely don't want to burn yourself out. You definitely want to make sure that you're taking the proper time to kind of disconnect from things, and sometimes meditation, reading, just anything to relax your mind. But definitely make sure that when you're disconnecting, you completely disconnect. I know for myself, it's kind of hard sometimes, even when I do disconnect and have that time away, where I kind of, just kind of relax. Sometimes it's sleeping for me, just catching up on those hours. Sometimes just simply going to the park. But I try my best to simply disconnect. And of course, when it comes back that time where you have to report back to work or have to report back to your duties, that you follow up with the person that was covering you during that time. Because you definitely want to follow up to make sure how that person was doing while you were gone. And just so that all of the care that you're managing, you guys can all be on the same page, and the client still particularly getting the best care. And for the nurses out there, I know during this time it's very rough on you. I would basically say the same thing. Whenever you can disconnect from things, go ahead and do so. I know sometimes it's very, very stressful. I do say keep going, don't give up, because at the end of the day, the smile and the difference that you're making in the family and the client's life is very, very rewarding. There's so much appreciation behind just the littlest things that healthcare workers do. And sometimes, families or clients might not always show it, but in their heart, they're genuinely appreciative about everything a healthcare worker does for them. So I would definitely say, whatever you have to do, if it's making a schedule, setting a timer, make sure you take that time personally to take care of yourself. Going on to the next question. Here it says, are there any programs that assist a person of color with entering the healthcare field? I don't personally know of any programs. I've heard in the past that there are certain programs outside of the country where if you would like to pursue a nursing degree, they will pay for your nursing degree, but you do have to reside out of the country. But I do say go ahead and utilize the internet is a good resource. Sometimes just contacting some of the schools, asking those type of questions before you enter a program, speaking to peers or other people that you may know, simply asking them, have they heard of any programs? But I do think like your internet, newspapers, and things like that will be your best resources to see what type of programs will be paid for a person of color. Going on to the next question here. It says, what courses or classes did you take to be excuse me, an LVN? So I actually took an accelerated course. I know that there is a lot of different classes that you need, such as biology, chemistry classes, math classes, English classes, a lot of prereqs with going into the nursing program, especially if you're doing a bridge program. Me personally, I'm going into the RN program. I'm halfway done currently. So I started with a lot of prereqs. I went to Citrus College, which is a community college, knocked out a lot of those, which is the cheaper route. But for the LVN, I definitely took an accelerated course, a little bit more pricey. But if you're someone that you don't have much time to start from the bottom, which is going to community college, kind of building your way up, I would definitely recommend an accelerated program where it takes about 2 years to get your LVN and another 2.5 years to get your RN if you do decide to go ahead and do a bridge program. But if you do have your prerequisites done, I would definitely say utilize those, especially if the college that you're interested in is going to accept those prerequisites. I know some of them do expire, but lately they've been a little bit more lenient on accepting some of those. So you definitely want to go ahead and check with the school that you're interested in applying into the nursing program. And going on to the last question here, it says, what is an LVN? So, an LVN is a licensed vocational nurse. Particularly, I'm able to do almost everything that an RN does, except, of course, start any IVs and write prescriptions for any medications. So, I can do things like wound care, I can administer medications, I can give vaccines. There's a lot of different things that you can do in the LVN field. Um, I actually personally used to work for hospice as well. So I used to have a lot of clients on the side, especially on the weekend, working hospice. And I did specialize in wound care. So wound care was one of my specialties. I definitely would encourage you to get a specialty if you are deciding to go into the nursing field further than caregiving. Go ahead and get some type of specialty training where you can go ahead and utilize that a little bit further in your career. That's all the questions that I have here. Are there any questions from the audience? Okay, so no questions. So I definitely want to say that kickstarting your career through caregiving is one of the best choices that you could make to start off in the healthcare field. It's definitely a stepping stone that you can use in many different ways to go in many different directions. I definitely want to commend you for taking this first step. I look forward to maybe running into you in the future in the healthcare field. And I hope all of you guys have a great evening. Thank you for tuning in. Bye bye.